Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Summer of Sarah. I'm super excited to be talking about the book Lock and Key today. Rereading it, I didn't realize how much I actually liked it. I remember liking it, of course, naturally when I first read it way back when I don't even know if it was when it first came out, but definitely way back when it had been newer, I should say. But I don't remember liking it as much. I don't know if I just didn't read it as thoroughly as I should have, or if it was, I just don't remember it that way. But regardless, I had read it only like once or twice, not obsessively like I have some of the other books. But let's jump into a quick summary because you guys, I am blown away by how much I love this book. I might even put this at like the top of the list, saying that this is my official favorite book of Sarah Dessen's. Not yet, but definitely at the top of the list. Okay. So, a quick summary. Ruby, our main character, has always had to take care of things. Her dad left when she was 5, her sister left when she turned 18 and didn't look back. Her mom ends up abandoning her weeks before she turns 18. Then her long lost sister swoops in to take care of her and takes her into her fancy new life. Will Ruby stay and mend the fence or flee? So, the book starts with Ruby being shown around her new environment by her brother in law, whom she's never met. Her sister has been married for a few years now, and she hasn't spoken to her in 10 years. Off the bat, you can feel the tension between Ruby and her sister Cora. They haven't seen each other in 10 years. They're both cold. Ruby thinks that Cora abandoned her, and Cora thinks that Ruby doesn't care about her anymore. She goes into how her mom and dad were forced together because her mom got pregnant with Cora actually when she was pretty young, like 19, 20 years old. They got married, and until Cora was 15 and Ruby was 5, that's when they divorced. It's sad because allegedly their dad left and didn't want to talk to them. We find out that this is a lie and we'll get into that later. Once Cora left for college, Ruby and her mom bounced around, always changing names, rent never paid on time, anything of that sort. Ruby's mom abandoned her before her senior year of high school finished. She left because she didn't want to get left, essentially. Again, we'll get into all of this later, but that's essentially the conclusion that we eventually come to, is that her mom didn't want Ruby to abandon her, so she left first, which is sad because Ruby didn't deserve that. And then, she was struggling to pay the rent, struggling to dry and clean her clothes, which is how her neighbors found her. They saw that she was hanging up a clothesline, or the landlords found her and then called CPS, and she went to her sister. So I was just thinking about this, like, as I wrote the review for this book. I love this book so much. I mean it with my whole heart. This book is so good. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. I honestly think this might be Dessen's like best book ever. I still haven't read the other ones. Like the newest one I haven't read. I think that was released in like 2019 or something, but this is probably one of her top tier books for sure. But anyway, she just knocked it out of the park. Like, I can't say enough good things about this book. I genuinely love it so much. Um, I checked out most of these books from the library because I didn't have the budget to go and buy all of these books. I mean, I don't get paid from doing YouTube or influencing, whatever it might be. I don't get paid for that. I do this because I love it and I love reviewing books, and I really just want to connect with people on books. So I didn't have the budget to buy all of these books, which would have cost me a lot of money. So I'm gonna be buying like my most favorite of favorite books of hers, and this one is going on the list. And I have like, I think, at least 3 others right now. Eventually, I'll end up buying them all, but for right now, love this book. Okay. Anyway, back to the book. Her landlords catch her living alone, called CPS. They found her sister. She moves in with her and her husband. We later find out in the book that her mom actually crashed out from drinking and drugs. I know you can get flagged for that on YouTube, so I'm just going to spell it out. I don't know if that makes a difference, but it might. So she ends up going into rehab. So one of the most interesting things in this book to me is the way that Dessen depicts Cora and Ruby knowing each other. She clearly depicts the fact that they have an unspoken sibling bond and that they just know things. Like, they both didn't grow up with major holidays being a huge deal. They didn't have a lot of money for those things. So she clearly gives that away with, like, Ruby's internal monologue, but also just like the way they act with each other, the way they can just fall into step so easily, and the way that they can really just read each other's expressions and know that they know what the other is talking about, in the sense of, we didn't grow up with this, we didn't do this, we didn't have these things. And it's funny because Jamie, the brother-in-law, comes from a very rich family, one that had traditions, that is still together, that is loud, that is boisterous, and that's just like not the family that Ruby and Cora grow up with, clearly. So it's just so interesting to see the way that they kind of come back together over these things um, that Jamie has experienced, but they haven't. And I don't know, I just always find it so funny. And I mean, clearly, Dessen had some sort of thought process by connecting them, because, like, coral, I feel like, is like an orangey red color, and then ruby is a ruby red. And so, like, you just kind of have these synonymous things with each other, these similarities between them. And Ruby does have red hair, which I think is always funny. So we also find out that her brother-in-law Jamie does do these things and does push them to do these big family traditions, like holiday cards or matching sweaters and things like that, because he knows that they didn't grow up with these things, and he wants them so badly to experience this. And I think that's a really sweet thing to do for somebody. And I get it. It can be incredibly overwhelming if you've never dealt with these things before. But I also think that it's just so sweet because he just cares so much about both of them. And he knows how much Cora missed her sister. And I'm sure he can tell that Ruby does care about her sister. But I don't know, I just think it's really kind that he'll go out of his way to do these things. And it's just really nice. Also, we find out that the brother-in-law Jamie did create what's essentially this universe's version of Facebook, and he is like a huge developer in this like website and all of these things. And I just think that that's actually, I just think it's funny because it's like he's the Mark Zuckerberg but seemingly nicer. So the way that the truth comes out between Cora and Ruby is incredibly sad, in my opinion, and it's of course all to do with their mother being a lying person and just a piece of shit. Sorry, that's just how I feel. She's just a piece of shit person, and she doesn't deserve daughters who are so kind and caring and actually give a crap, because as much as they hate her, they still want her to be okay at the end of the day. So that's like a whole thing. But Cora brings up her wedding to Jamie and how like had something had happened at it, and then she says she's not mad at Ruby for not going anymore. And Ruby's kind of taken back. She's like, "What do you mean? I'm still mad that you didn't invite me to your wedding." And then um Cora was like, "Well, that's not true. I did invite you to my wedding." And she's like, "No, mom said that you specifically did not invite us and that it was just her and I now." And she's like, "No, I physically went to mom's place of work. I handed her an invitation and I said, please come to my wedding. Make sure this gets to Ruby." And then this is when Ruby really just kind of loses it. And I don't blame her, because clearly she's been believing one thing for the last 10 years of her life. And that is that her sister abandoned her, her dad abandoned her, and that her mom's a piece of shit. And her mom used to abuse Cora. She never really hit Ruby, but that is also because Cora threatened her and said, if you ever touch her, I will make sure that you end up behind bars, which I think is a really great thing as an older sister. Like, as an older sister thing to say is what I should say. This is really when we see Ruby unload on her sister and say that she abandoned her. She never came back. She didn't try to help her and all of these things. And it really breaks my heart, because Ruby clearly doesn't want to believe that her mom's a liar, but she also doesn't want to believe her sister is a bad person, even though this is what she has spent the last 10 years thinking. Because, I mean, how could you not at that point? Because, your mom's saying she's a bad person. You're seeing, quote unquote, the actions of your sister and not showing up and not being there for you. So how could you not think that she just abandoned you or doesn't care about you anymore? But this leads to Ruby actually just spiraling out of control. She ends up skipping school. She goes to somebody who sells her some illicit things, and it's actually when we see Rogerson again, which is wild to me that he exists in this universe, because we all know how I feel about him, and he can go fly a kite. That man deserves to rot in a jail cell, regardless. Anyway, so she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to believe her sister's a bad person, but she also doesn't want to believe her mom is a liar no matter how much her mom has treated her poorly. And I get that because it is your mom, and you don't want to think that she just caused this misery for the last 10 years, even though she clearly did. And Cora even points out, she's like, why do you think you guys were moving around all the time? Why do you think you were always changing your name slightly? Why do you think like all of these things were happening? Is because she was trying to avoid me getting to you, because let's face it, Cora is a public defender. Her husband makes a lot of money, like millions upon millions. Like they have a beautiful house, with like tons of bedrooms. Everything is perfect. They could fight her mother so easily and probably figure out some way to win, especially because of the fact that Cora can testify to the abuse and the negligence and just like the poor quality of life that she's giving Ruby. And so she probably would win that court case because let's be real, why wouldn't she? She has the money and the manpower to back it. And I doubt her mom could afford an attorney. So she probably moved around so Ruby wouldn't abandon her, even though, like, God forbid you just stay in touch with your daughter and be like a good person. Anyway, she is probably, I'm trying to think, who was the worst mom I decided at this point. I'm like trying to, because I've written a bunch of reviews, I'm trying to think of which ones I've actually like put out. I would say she's probably the worst mom in the Sarah Dessen world. Oh well, I guess I said Mecklen's mom is pretty bad, but at least Mecklen's mom cared about her and wanted her to do well and like actually have a good life and all of these things. Ruby and Cora's mom is just a bitch. Like she just does not care about them. She doesn't want them to do well or succeed and just wants to see them miserable so they have to depend on her so she's never alone the rest of her life. It's a shit situation. So she ends up going to, like I said, this man who sells not good things to her like house, and she goes and one of his other buddies that also does the same thing is there, and she's talking to him and she's like, well, where is he? He's like, he's not here. And she's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go lay down in his room. And he's like, no, you shouldn't do that. And she's like, well, I don't care, I'm just gonna wait for him to get home. She goes in there, she sees her former best friend and him in bed together, which is real cute. Leaves, is super upset, actually ends up passing out in the woods, and she thought one of her friends was going to come and get her because she thought she saw him, but who ends up showing up is Nate. He is the next door neighbor who has been giving Cora rides to school, who has been really kind to her, and she's kind of been brushing him off because she just doesn't want to really get attached to anybody. She was even planning on running away the first night, but then Nate actually kind of quote unquote caught her, and then Jamie was actually outside and was like, hey, like, what are you doing? You know, where are you going? And he was like, oh, Nate kind of defended her and was like, oh, I was playing my music too loud. And so she was just asking for me to come and turn it down. We see him kind of really become this knight in shining armor towards Ruby and all of these things, which I think is really sweet because she does need a shoulder to cry on, somebody to lean on, and all of these things. So he does end up taking her home. She's incredibly high. She is not doing well. He gets her something to eat, then he drops her off at home. Of course, Cora and Jamie are incredibly worried about her, right? And rightfully so, but it's surprising because Jamie is actually way more mad at her and goes off on her and is like, you have no idea what your sister has done to get you back. You have no idea what the courts will do if they find this out and all of these things. And it's like, that's 120% fair. And I get that. I really, really do. But it's also like you have to understand the things that these two have gone through. And Cora, while she's upset, and again, it's not that they aren't justifiably upset because Ruby is old enough to know better. It's just like she's never been given proper coping skills. She has had so many life changes in the last like few weeks. Like you can cut her just like the tiniest bit of slack. However, it does not mean that she gets to go off consequence free, but I think you need to understand that she needs, like, you really should buckle down and force her to go to therapy or get somebody to come home, or not come home, but come to the house and give her the therapy and treatment she actually needs because she needs a lot of help and she's been refusing to go to therapy. Sister extends a hand to her like she always does and really just comforts her and tells her it's okay and really kind of remends that bond that they've had, because I think they both have come to the conclusion they've been lied to. And Cora was like, I should have made sure that you had the invitation and everything. She's like, I wanted you there so, so badly. and again, they should punish her appropriately. They should do all the things, but I think being mean to her and like throwing things in her face at this moment isn't like the right thing to do. I think sitting her down and being like, look, we want you here. We fought incredibly hard to have you here. You need to understand that if you get caught doing these things, you would be put right back into the system. You're almost 18. You can hold out for a few more like months, my guy. But I also think it's really, really hard on her. And I also get frustrated with Jamie at this point because I'm like, you grew up with so much privilege and so much wealth and all of these things that you genuinely cannot understand the things that Cora and Ruby have gone through together, let alone Ruby with just her mother and the things that she has seen, that she has suffered through, that she has had to do in order to make sure that um, that everything has been taken care of for them to even continue living. So I think he needs to take a pill and shut up. And then eventually he forgives her, even though he was giving her the silent treatment, which really pissed me off because you're an adult. Like, act like one. I don't know. I don't know. I get really frustrated because I feel like he doesn't get to nitpick at her and really be mean to her and all of these things. And I know she hasn't been the best, but I also just don't think it's fair when he can't understand her, and that's on him. But we see Ruby and Cora's relationship change after this. They clearly become closer and they understand each other a lot more. They are able to kind of like come to terms with the fact that they were lied to, that they didn't see each other for so many reasons. And honestly, this is when I was just like, man, this mom is the worst, because then Cora tells Ruby that their dad actually did try giving child support money and actually did try all of these things. But she refused money from him for after the divorce and all of that, which I think is bullshit because like clearly your kids deserve a better life. Also, why wouldn't you just take the money, like make your life easier, and give them a semi decent life? I think she deserves to go to jail and not rehab at the end of this book because she has done a lot of shitty things to them and she really just doesn't deserve to get away with it. Again, I think she's the worst mom in this book or in this series, or like Dessen land. I don't know. I can't with her. I'm so annoyed. I'm glad we like never see her face to face because I think I would have thrown some hands somehow, some way. I don't know. Figure that one out. After this incident as well, Ruby starts to get closer to Nate and we see her help him out with his family business, which is essentially to kind of run errands for different businesses and everything. We find out that Nate's dad is also incredibly verbally and physically abusive and kind of like a scammer because he has tried to get Jamie to invest in some things. One time he did get money from Jamie and Cora was pissed and she was like, don't you ever do that again, because he is a scammer. And he does eventually flee at the end of the book because he kind of stole money from everybody and it made him really, really upset, clearly. And then he's like, oh, it was just a glitch in the system, blah, blah, blah. But we find out he is in a lot of financial trouble. Eventually, after one really bad fight, Nate does run away and Ruby goes to find him. I should also mention that these two are casually dating at this point. They're nothing serious, and like always, there's some push and pull, but I think they're super sweet together. I enjoy them. I think they understand and fit really well together. So if she ever wanted to write a sequel on these two, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'm just saying. And then this is when Cora also tells Ruby that their mom was found in a rehab. She's getting treatment. We don't get much closure at the end of the book with her mom, but we can assume that she might be doing better or at least trying to do better on all of these things. I really don't care. Again, I think she deserves jail, but that's just me, and I know not everybody will agree with me on that, and that's okay. This line, you guys, and I think this is a wild line. I don't know what time of day I wrote this, but I said, if we did get closure at the end of this book, it better be someone mollywopping her, because I really think the mom deserves so much worse than she got. I don't know what goes through my head sometimes. Sometimes I just really live in my emotions. Anyway, after Nate runs away and he talks to Cora and Jamie about what happened, he goes back to live with his mom. And originally he didn't live with his mom because of the fact that she didn't have enough room for him. She essentially didn't want him there, but he will also turn 18 and then go to university. So he'll be okay until then. And I also just don't understand how easy it is to switch schools. Like, I always thought it was a huge process, and he is like a few months away from, or not even like a month and a half away from graduating. Like, why couldn't he stay with a friend and then I don't know, just like graduate and then go to college. I guess I just don't understand the point of moving him, but it is what it is. I still don't understand it, and I still have a lot of questions. But overall, you guys, I'm obsessed with this book. Like, I love it so much, and I really want to reread it. But I really want to finish reading these and then writing reviews, so that way I can just record and then. Anyway, not the point. My busy time is not your guys' problem. Um, but I really didn't think I absorbed this the first time around. But I am so in awe of this book. I think it is so amazing. And I remember it being so much slower and not as action heavy. But I'm happy that it's not because I think it's great. I wasn't dreading rereading it, but I just didn't remember it clearly. But I'm really, really happy I did. I highly recommend you add this book to your TBR or to your physical bookshelf, whatever it might be. And this is going on the list of books that I'm going to buy after I return these to the library. But anyway, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I'm super, super happy to be doing the Summer of Sarah. If you have a specific Sarah book or any book recommendations, leave a comment down below, and I'm more than happy to read them, review, and then get it back out to you guys. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys next week with another book. Bye.